Hello and a warm welcome to another edition of To The Point. On the show this week, the man who's turned around the power sector in India. He holds charge of 3 economic ministries. I welcome Mr. Piyush Goyal, who is Minister of State for Coal, Power, New and Renewable Energy, including Mines. Welcome, sir, on To The Point. Let me begin by asking you, your government completes almost 3 years now, next month. Are you really satisfied with the progress which Power Ministry has made?
Well, I think the day anybody becomes satisfied with his work should be the last day somebody is in that job. It's an evolution. There's always much more to be done. A lot has happened. There have been transformational changes. We've worked to make India a coal and power surplus country. The Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana has started yielding results. Many Discoms are reporting far, far better performance than ever before. Our energy conservation and efficiency enhancement program has received huge applaud worldwide, particularly the rollout of LEDs. The effort to ensure availability of low-cost power through the length and breadth of the country at all times of the day, including peak hours at very affordable and low tariffs, has encouraged expanded generation, and our effort to take power to the remotest corners and the people of India who have not received electricity for 7 decades after independence. All of these are initiatives and efforts which have given a lot of satisfaction. But I think every day you wake up with a new idea and a lot more to be done.
You just spoke about electrification in the remotest corners. Recently, we saw a spat in Lok Sabha. I wouldn't call it a spat, a verbal duel between you and former Power Minister Yogi Adityanath on the rural electrification front. What is the real picture of the rural electrification front? If I were to ask you in terms of percentage, that how would you look at it, the overall picture?
Well, it pains me when I go to rural India.
Okay.
We've had the Congress in power for most of the period of independent India. Our government is only 3 years old. The gentleman you referred was my predecessor in the power ministry. The whole world knows what was left behind. A situation where more than 7 crore people, by his own admission, were without power. 7 crore families, which could translate to many more, maybe 25, 30 crore people, by his own admission in that day in Parliament. That's what Census 2011 also showed.
Right.
Electrification reached a number of villages, but the whole approach was flawed, that if 10% of the homes got electricity, if the local panchayat office or school got electricity, you considered your job done and power has reached that village.
Okay.
The 18,000 odd villages, which were in the remotest corners, some were at the top of mountains, dense forests, Maoist infected areas, were ignored. No effort was made to reach power to them. If power reached a village, the habitations around there, which in common parlance are called majlas or dhanis, these were not electrified. They never got the benefit of electricity. Wherever electricity reached, there was no effort to reach 24/7 power. Now, in some sense, what the former power minister, Mr. Scindia, was saying was a report card of the failure of the Congress government, and juxtapose that to what the situation is today. And even a layman can see the stark difference between 68 years or 67 years and 3 years. If you look at that, whether it's in terms of power generation, whether it's in terms of coal production growth and availability, whether you see in terms of transmission lines, whether you see in terms of the effort made to upgrade the infrastructure in the power sector, whether you see in terms of households getting electrified, the monitoring and aggressive effort being made across the country, and the data that is being shared with the world. Today, data is not on the files. It's all available on your mobile phone. That encourages people to know more about what's happening. And then we don't talk about anything on file. We talk about everything in the public domain.
I'll pick from where you mentioned that during UPA's time, if a panchayat got electricity, they clubbed the whole village as an electrified village. But rural infrastructure, when it comes to the supply of electricity, the distribution of electricity, is it still not a challenge? For example, in the hilly areas, how do you really give power to each and every household?
Well, I wish in your show you would show the clippings about how power equipment is taken to these mountains, to these forest areas. Only about 4 days back, I received a video. And all of these are videos which are made by the local people or the officers locally and posted on the govt website. So you will see on the govt app, mobile app, a video where in Assam, they are taking huge transformers on their shoulders. So through that, about 20 people are carrying transformer on their shoulder and taking it up a mountain because there's no other access road. You'll find people going across rivers, carrying power cables and power equipment so that they can reach the really far off areas. Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, Honorable Minister from Bihar, had indicated to me about a whole area called Diara, where between the two rivers, the entire area has never seen electricity and no effort has ever been made to reach electricity to them. We started the work there and very soon that entire area will be lit up with electricity. So the effort is to reach the remotest corner and every household within that. In fact, Uttar Pradesh is the Honorable Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath ji has been with me almost 8 or 10 times on the phone since he became Chief Minister. The Power Minister has met me on 3 occasions already. Over the whole weekend, and I'm sure probably today, tomorrow, despite being Ram Navami, the entire team is working, burning the midnight oil to finalize the power for all 24/7 document, which the entire country had joined except Uttar Pradesh.
But when you talk about the turnaround of the power sector, we see that it's divided between production, transmission and distribution. And distribution has always been the weakest link of the value chain, which we have seen in the earlier years also. So when you say it's a turnaround, do you look at all these 3 factors, or is it just distribution which has seen a makeover?
Now, I think if you look at the work of the government, and of course we give our report card regularly, unlike any time in the past, this government presents to the people what we did literally month on month and year on year. We did a root cause analysis to understand what are the various elements in this chain and what are the issues that need to be addressed. Then we prioritized our work to ensure that we don't work in a disjointed fashion. So suppose I only focused on DISCOM resolution, but there was no power availability in the system. If there was no coal available to bring down the cost of power, if DISCOM still needed to depend on very high value power purchases on the exchange, if DISCOM still were plagued with high interest costs, the turnaround would never have happened. So we prioritize what needs to be done in each area.
It's a holistic approach.
It's a complete comprehensive approach. We believe every bead in the necklace has an important role to play, and even one bead falling out of the necklace can disrupt the entire process.
But when you talk about the Uday scheme, the Ujjwala DISCOM scheme, we talk about the financial turnaround, but what about the operational efficiency? How do you really factor in that aspect?
In fact, I would urge you to look at some of the agreements we've done with the states. The financial aspect is probably the smallest aspect of the entire Ujjwal DISCOM Assurance Yojana. Uday focuses largely on helping the DISCOMs bring down their costs, improving efficiency.
But is it not vice versa, like the operational efficiency, and then obviously it results in the financial
Very
result?
True. But at the same time, the baggage and legacy that we have inherited is also a reality. So we have focused on every element. Again, the most comprehensive or holistic approach ever seen in the power sector. So the immediate debt was also a crisis.
But what about the coordination? Because electricity is a very concurrent subject. A lot of it depends on the states, how they implement, how they imbibe the briefs coming from the central government. How do you really factor in that?
I think I have not faced any difficulty in that. We've had very good relations with all the states, irrespective of political dispensation. Uday was a voluntary scheme. We have almost 27 states already signed up. One more is on the verge of signing up. One state chooses not to sign, despite personally assuring to me informally about a year and a half ago that they would like to join Uday. But then that's their politics, so it's unfortunate. This government has never let politics override good governance and economics.
Power is certainly an evolving sector, but uninterrupted power supply still remains a far cry. I mean, there are many pockets within and outside Delhi where you see that power is not available 24/7. What is this? I mean, how are you going to tackle this challenge? In fact, many pockets of the country are facing this problem.
Sure. Unfortunately, the states, and this is more a state subject, the central government is only a policy-making body.
Okay.
It's the states which have to invest in their power infrastructure. That's the scheme of things in the federal structure. The center gives out 42% of its total revenue to the states, which is meant to be used for development and infrastructure upgradation of all kinds, including power. We also support the states through schemes like the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana for rural electrification, integrated power development scheme for urban electrification. Our effort is that we support the states in doing good, but ultimately the states will have to allocate funds, will have to run an efficient state distribution network.
You've pointed to the fact that the states probably, if I talk about the uninterrupted power supply at this point of time when it's peak summertime, which means that the things are not being implemented properly by the state governments.
Well, it's like this. I have made sure that there's sufficient coal, so no state ever has to stress for generation of power.
Right.
We have made sure the central utilities are on standby to give as much power as any state requires. We have a very robust power exchange, which is reported through a mobile app called Vidyut Prabha.
Right.
Round the clock, 24/7, we have ensured there's power available on that exchange at very affordable prices for states which want to purchase it. We have ensured a great expansion on transmission network,
Okay.
so that power can flow seamlessly across the country. In fact, about 2 years ago, the Honorable Prime Minister had envisioned one nation, one grid, one price on the power exchange. And I'm happy to share with you that of late I'm finding that almost every day throughout the day, you can get power at one price anywhere in the country. And that price is quite affordable despite this peak summer. The Uttar Pradesh government, I'm delighted to share with you just yesterday, and I keep looking at all my information in the app so that I can monitor and also keep telling people if there's any improvement. I'm delighted to share with you, only yesterday I saw it and I was sharing with the Honorable Finance Minister that the Uttar Pradesh government has finally started buying power on the exchange.
Okay.
Low cost power so that their people get more hours of power supply. Only yesterday, I think they had bought 1100 megawatt of power, which for a state like Uttar Pradesh is quite large.
But when you talk about the power sector, we see that our country is still over-reliant on the coal-based energy. But we are still talking about, there's a simultaneous discourse on the clean energy and the green energy. How do you really strike this balance? Because we are still dependent on coal so much.
Prime Minister Modi is very, very concerned about the environment. He believes that the world has to evolve into cleaner sources of energy. Even when it comes to coal, he's continuously suggesting that we should move towards coal to gas or coal bed methane,
Right.
gasification of coal into syngas. Look at other ways in which coal can be used more efficiently.
Right.
Replace the old power plants with supercritical modern plants where pollution is much less. Having said that, every country needs a base load of power. After all, we can't tell our people that, look, the sun is down, solar power won't be generated now, so we should all live in darkness, go back to the old age and candlelight and kerosene lamps.
But we see that there is a lot of focus on solar and wind, but
We are balancing the two. Coal-based power will remain our base load, but the ramp-up of renewable energy is a ramp-up never ever seen before in our history. For example, solar power. We were 2,650 megawatt in 2014 when we assumed office. On 10th March this year, we crossed 10,000 megawatt.
Okay.
Now, almost 4x of what it was. We've never seen that happen in 3 years ever.
But what about the hydropower? We see that is untapped as compared to wind and solar.
Before I come to hydro wind power, we added more than 5,000 megawatt last year, which is twice what was added in the previous year. So we are seeing a rapid ramp up. In terms of hydropower, you're well aware that a lot of cases are under adjudication in the courts, and a number of projects are stressed or stranded because of environmentalists or ecological concerns, studies, basin studies being carried out. And certainly that sector, when we took office, was in a state of complete standstill and flux. We have made effort, for example, a project which was 91% complete, but stranded when we assumed office in May of 2014, Teesta in Sikkim. And you'll appreciate Sikkim has a lot of geopolitical importance also. A project which 9,000 crores was invested, but work had stopped. In this very room, we sat down for hours and hours at a time. At some times, I would tell the people, now everybody is locked in. I'm going to do my work in my room. And when you all come to a resolution, call me in. Till that time, nobody leaves the room. We've gone through pain trying to get the hydro sector back. I'm glad to share with you, October 15, we were able to resolve all their issues between bankers, lenders, all stakeholders, state government, investors, promoters, EPC contractors, consultants. We solved all the internecine fights and problems. And by March last month, I'm glad to share with you, it started generating 1200 megawatt of power. It's a matter of great satisfaction when you see something like this happen. There was a project in Madhya Pradesh which started in '93, but has never taken off at all. Hundreds of crores, maybe a few thousand crores invested already. We've now taken it over, and the Madhya Pradesh government and centre are working to resolve that.
Okay.
You will appreciate that unless you resolve the past legacy, no new investor is going to come in and put good money in a sector which he has seen has gone through so much distress. So our effort is to get all of these back on stream, and we are also working on some kind of a package which will help the hydro sector take a leap forward in the days to come.
Taking you away now from the power sector, and in fact, before I talk about the politics of BJP and the resurgence of BJP, how much has power recently contributed to the victory? Because we've seen that, for example, Ujjwala has been seen as a game changer, and so have the power welfare schemes. So how much was power the contributing factor to the victory in the recent assembly elections?
Well, Ujjwala, of course, is a wonderful scheme, and I must compliment Prime Minister Modi and my colleague Dharmendra Pradhan. He crossed 3 crore connections last year. And when you look at it in the context of up to 2014, the country had some 14 crore connections. And in 3 years, the Modi government has added over 5.5 crore connections. It shows you the scale and size at which this government implements projects. Ujjwala in its very first year has given more than 2 crore people a free LPG connection, which is a game changer. But I think if on a more holistic view, it's the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's vision of a new India, of a developed India, of a self-reliant India, of an India that will really lead the world rather than follow the world. It's that vision, that trust that the people of India have. The poorest of the poor in this country believes in the Prime Minister, believes in his leadership, believes in his integrity, believes in his concern for the welfare of the poor. Every section of society today wants to be a part of this new emerging India led by Prime Minister Modi. I think it's his visionary leadership and the very, very strategic and I would say game-changing leadership that Mr. Amit Shah, our party president, gave in terms of managing the entire campaign, candidate selection. The entire process was so ably handled by Mr. Amit Shah that together this team of Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah led us to this series of victories.
But when you talk about the big victory, obviously people start talking about the victory in Uttar Pradesh. Of course, other states also BJP won. But since UP is the biggest state, and after the big victory came the anointment of Yogi Adityanath, which still many people are questioning that why of all the people Mr. Yogi Adityanath was anointed as,
I think he's the best
as the
choice.
Chief Minister.
I think he was the best choice, and I must thank the leadership of the party for giving the state such a Chief Minister.
But many feel that...
I've interacted with Yogi Adityanath ji for the last 3 years as Power Minister. He's a 5-time elected Member of Parliament. And I would see him come to me with so much detail about what needs to be done in his constituency in the Gorakhpur region. I would see him come to me with so much concern for the poor of his constituency. That village, that remote hamlet, that habitation needs power. The work is slow. There's this problem in that work. They're not doing it efficiently. I think his understanding of developmental works was phenomenal. And I don't see, this is a pseudo-intellectual argument. And I think only a few people are now still discussing this issue. He has demonstrated in his first few days in office his ability to lead Uttar Pradesh into a developed state. And it's only the naysayers and a few people, including some in the journalistic world, who cannot see beyond their own ideological compulsion or their own restricted and myopic thinking of the past. They're not willing to give anybody a chance or look into the future.
But if you look at the roller coaster ride of Yogi Adityanath's first 10 days rule and the kind of decisions he's made.
What roller coaster ride? I think it's been a fantastic ride.
No, like shutting down the abattoirs.
But that's a commitment we had announced upfront to the people. I wish you would go through our Sankalp Patra. We had told the people all illegal slaughterhouses and mechanized slaughterhouses have no place in Uttar Pradesh. We believe in protecting the cow. I think the cow has a very, very important role to play in the development of this nation. And therefore, this is not something that Yogi Adityanath ji has done. I would have done the same thing if I was in his place, because that's what we had told the people. The people gave us this huge mandate, and we will implement our Sankalp Patra in full.
What about the anti-Romeo squads which are making the headlines?
We made big headlines. Of course, Rajya Sabha TV doesn't take advertisements, but I'm sure you watched our television ads, our newspaper ads. We would scream from the rooftops that we get a chance to come into power. We're going to put all these Romeos behind bars, and we'll have anti-Romeo squad in every place. In fact, last night I was seeing a movie with my wife, and while coming back, it was late night, and while coming back, we saw some youngsters looked pretty threatening to me actually, 4 or 5 of them huddled over in a corner while we were getting out. And immediately she said we need some action even in Delhi. So I think it's something which the nation wants to take care of the women of this nation. We want to ensure that everybody has an ability to live a free and the confidence to live a life free of fear. And I think Uttar Pradesh is doing a wonderful job. It's time all those who indulged in criminal activities or activities which are detrimental to peace and harmony in society to take a backseat to get out of the system.
Coming to the perception of Yogi Adityanath again, many people, it has been seen in the past that he's been seen as a Hindutva firebrand cleric who's spoken against Muslims. His anointment, I would not say, I mean, you're saying that certain sections of media are doing it, but there are reports.
And some so-called intellectuals also.
So-called intellectuals, I would agree with you. But what I'm saying is that his anointment is actually leading to some kind of a social isolation as well, especially the Muslims, the minorities.
I don't think so. In fact, I'm told a lot of Muslim women are very happy that there will be peace and security on the streets. After all, these anti-Romeo squads don't see the color of religion or color of caste. They are a detriment to society as a whole. Triple talaq is an issue on which we want to find a resolution. I do hope the courts will, and I'm glad that the Honorable Chief Justice has decided to take it up even despite the vacations. That's the kind of concern and sincerity that even Muslim families today are wanting. Young Muslim girls want to be a part of an inclusive society. And as far as being a Hindu is concerned, or even for that matter being concerned about Hindus, nothing wrong in that. Everybody likes to take protection about his people, about his religion. It doesn't mean we are anti somebody else. I'm a devout Hindu also. I pray probably more than what Yogi Adityanath ji prays. I spend more time meditating and in the temples than possibly my senior most leaders. But do I ever discriminate in my development work? Do I ever discriminate in my actions? Yogi Adityanath ji has shown that he is working for development of 22 crore Uttar Pradesh citizens, irrespective of caste, creed or religion.
But what will you
We are not discriminating with anybody when it comes to development.
What will you tell those people or those sections of the society which are saying that anointment of Yogi Adityanath is an endorsement of the Hindutva agenda? It is appeasing the RSS core team. There are reports coming up like that. What would you like to tell those people which are writing this?
First of all, I am also a very proud Swayam Sevak of RSS. I have deepest respect for the leadership of the RSS, for the ideology and the teachings of the RSS. I have attended shakhas and never have I been told even once by any leader of the RSS to discriminate on the basis of caste or creed or religion. In fact, I don't know if you are aware, Mahatma Gandhi ji, also when he visited an RSS shakha and he asked everybody, what is your caste, what is your caste? Not a single person in the shakha gave his caste. They said, I am a Hindu, I am an Indian.
Why do parties like Congress say that BJP is communal? They have a communal agenda.
Because they have no other agenda. They have no other legs to stand on. They are trying to divide society. They have looked at religions and castes only for their divisive vote bank politics. They've had a myopic agenda. It's very, very unfortunate that a large part of this, again, so-called intellectual brigade is very myopic in its worldview. They're not willing to look beyond their own prejudices. And I think it's time that we all saw what good development work he's doing. We are going to stick to the Sankalp Patra. I would urge, I have been very much actively involved and reading every part of that Sankalp Patra. And I believe every element of that Sankalp Patra is important for us. We are all committed to implementing it and we shall implement it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Piyush Goyal. Thank you. So that's it on this episode of To The Point. See you next time with another personality. Goodbye and thanks for watching.